The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Happy race week, everyone, and thanks for joining. I know you guys have a million things that you probably need to be doing in regards to packing and getting ready to head up to Panama City Beach, or down for some of you. My name is Jackie Miller, and I'm here to give you some tips and talk about race week and the course in Ironman Florida. And if you have any questions at all, just type them into the question box and we'll answer them at the end. I coach for OutRival Racing and QT2 Systems. I've been a coach for 13 years and I've been doing triathlon for 15 years, and I'm not going to tell you my age. I'm also the team manager for both brands, OutRival and QT2 Systems. I have done 8 Ironman, 3 of them being at Florida, and I have gone up to Panama City Beach every year since 2008 to either coach, race, or cheer friends on in Panama City Beach. Obviously, last year I did not go to Panama City Beach, unfortunately, due to Hurricane Michael, but I was at Haines City. So I'm pretty familiar with the area, and so any questions about logistics, the course, or anything for first timers regarding anything that comes up, just feel free to type in your question. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So how to get from here, which is the starting line at the swim start, right here, to here, the finish line at Ironman Florida. First of all, with QT2 Systems, we always start our presentations with the 5 cornerstones of racing. Number 1 is training. Right now, everyone's training is done. Most of you are in tapering, and I'm sure you're quite happy about it. The next one is nutrition and rest. This is always mixed in with our training, the nutrition we do in between our training sessions and during our training sessions, as well as our rest and recovery in between those training sessions. That is what we consider preparation for the race. And next we have race fueling. This is race day fueling, how well you are feeding your body during the race. And race pacing, and that is if you have a pacing plan you're following or you're listening to your body using rate of perceived exertion, following your power meter, wattage, your heart rate. That is what we call the execution of the race itself. And finally, we have mental fitness, which is the 5th cornerstone and just as important as the physical training, but that's training the mind, staying positive in the head on race day, and just being strong mentally. Putting all 5 of these together gives us our race outcome, how well we do on race day. So first, let's talk about Ironman week, which is up on us right now. I'm sure most of you are in disbelief that it's finally here. A lot of you probably signed up a year ago for this race, and now it's here, and a lot of you are probably prepared. A lot of the first timers are pretty overwhelmed probably with what's going to happen once you get to Panama City. So let's just go through some of these things. First of all, some things you should be doing this week. First of all, if you haven't already, make lists at home for your gear. I like to write everything down, everything I'm going to need before the race, the morning of the race, I should say, everything I'm going to need during the swim, during the bike, during the run, and then my special needs bike, special needs run, and then even after the race if I want clothes to change into, recovery drink, things like that. So make lists for all that at home. And then I recommend buying the really big Ziplocs, not the quart freezer bags that you put in your freezer, but they make some pretty big size Ziplocs. Usually find them at Walmart. I haven't been able to find them at Target. But go ahead and get 5 of those, and those will represent the gear bags and the special needs bags that you're going to be given when you get to Panama City. Make one of these for morning clothes. One of these will be for your swim to bike transition. One for bike to run transition, one for special needs bike, and one for special needs run. And you can put everything in the bags that you are going to need in each one of those areas. And that way, when you get up to Panama City, everything is already organized, and all you have to do is dump it into the bags that they give you. We recommend arriving to the venue as early as possible. So if you get up there Wednesday, go straight to check-in before you check into your hotel or your condo. Same thing, Thursday, go straight to the expo to check in. The later you wait on Thursday, the longer the lines get. And the last thing you want to do is be standing out in the heat in a long line on your feet waiting just to check in because you waited too long. So the earlier you get there, the better. If you get there Wednesday, usually there's not any line at all. You just get through it really quick. There is no check-in on Friday, registration check-in, I should say. Friday is gear bags and bike check-in only. So if you are planning on getting there on Friday and getting registered and checking everything in, that's not going to happen. So be sure you are to Panama City Beach before 5 o'clock on Thursday. We recommend browsing at the expo and shopping early, such as Wednesday or Thursday. Friday is the day to stay off your feet. It's really exciting, especially if this is your first Ironman, to shop at the expo and buy lots of stuff, but save some money for the day after the race because they bring out the finisher's gear. So they bring out some different items, things that say finisher versus just Ironman Florida. And after you cross that finish line, you're definitely going to want something that says you finished the race. Hydrate and stay off of your feet as much as possible. It's really exciting around the expo area, and it's very easy to overdo it at the expo. You know, walking around, looking at all the cool stuff, the new bikes, the new shoes that are out, shopping in the expo. And it does get hot in the afternoon in Panama City. So just all that walking around the expo really can get you dehydrated, and it can get your legs a little throbby, and we just want to be rested and ready for race day. We put a lot of time into getting to this point. So when you get up to Panama City on Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to need your USAT card and your driver's license, and you're going to go, there's different stations you're going to walk through. They're going to give you a card, and they're going to give you a medical card as well, and you're just going to check through the information, make sure it's all okay, and you're going to take it through the line with you, and you're going to go station to station getting your swim cap, your swag bag, which is usually a backpack with some goodies in it. And then finally, the last station is your timing chip and activating your timing chip. You're going to take all that home with you. They will have athlete briefings at the expo at various times on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's all in your athlete guide of the event schedule. I highly recommend attending these meetings, especially if it's your first time doing an Ironman. They'll cover a lot of information on the course, if there's been any course changes at the last minute, if there's any road construction, how the water temperature is looking for wetsuit, legal versus non-wetsuit. A lot of good information at these meetings. I recommend that you take a practice swim at some point, preferably around the time of the race start if you can get out there early enough, just so you can see where the sun sets that time of the morning, so you can get your bearings for the sighting and where the sun's going to be in your eyes at what time, at what part of the course. So get out there and try to do that practice swim. We are having one on Thursday morning at 7:30, right at the swim start. If anyone would like to come join us, you're welcome to do that. I think there's another group I've seen somewhere on the Ironman Florida page that are swimming at 8 p.m. That's also open to everyone. So get out, get one of those group swims in, or just even go out on your own and just get kind of adjusted to the water. If you feel the need to preview the course, a lot of people like to drive bike courses before an Ironman event. This is just pretty much a one loop course, so that would be quite a long drive. So maybe you want to get out there and see part of it, but I probably wouldn't do the whole thing. The run course is 2 loops, so it's very easy to either bike a little bit on the run course or just do a quick drive on the 1 loop of the run course, just so you can kind of see where your bearings are, get your bearings straight. On Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Are the opening banquets. So this is held at the Boardwalk Hotel in the ballroom, and the line starts to get pretty long by 5 o'clock. So I would get in line. Sometimes they do run out of seating, but if you're there early, you shouldn't have a problem. They have a pasta, chicken, salad, cookies for dessert, things like that. If you want to eat there, it's included in your athlete in your entry fee. They have a lot of really inspirational talking. Mike Riley's there presenting. He'll present, just say a lot of things to pump you up and motivate you for the race. So I encourage going to it, especially again, if this is your first Ironman. It's very motivating to attend, and it really does get you pumped up. The closing banquet is on Sunday morning. This is a breakfast buffet at the same site as the expo, right outside. It is outside. It does get kind of hot if it's a hot day, but it looks like we're going to have some cool weather this year, which yay for you guys. Good, that's a good thing. And at the closing banquets, they do a little video recap of the race. They do a thank you video for the volunteers. And then that is also where the award ceremony and the Kona roll down reallocation ceremony is as well. Now, the things you shouldn't do. So we already talked about not hanging out at the expo the day before the race. Also, you do not want to be eating spicy, fatty, or high fiber foods in the couple days prior. You just want to get your GI system all nice and cleaned out. You don't want to wake up with a full sick belly on race day. Another thing, a lot of people get a little intimidated by going to the expo and walking around and seeing all the quote unquote fit looking people at the expo. And then you start to second guess yourself, like, oh, they look fitter than I do. They're going to do way better than me. I don't belong here. So don't let them discourage you or put a ding in your confidence at any time. You never know. All shapes and sizes do Ironman and do very well. So do not, I guess, for the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. All right, here we have the infamous gear bags. So for all you first timers, this is a big nervous area for a lot of people. These are the bags you will get on that Wednesday or Thursday in your backpack when you check in. There's 5 bags, like I said earlier. And again, make lists. Have these bags already pre-packed before you leave your house with the Ziplocs, and then there's no stress involved once you get these bags. You just dump your stuff right into the each bag that you need. The bags will come with stickers, and the stickers go on the bags. You can see these bags do have the race numbers on them. And that will be your race number, the sticker that you'll put on each one of these bags. Now, the bike gear bag is going to be in one area of transition, and the run bag will be in a totally separate area of transition. It's not like your normal triathlon where everything's underneath your bike. So you're going to have to run to 2 different places throughout the day to get these bags. There are volunteers there to help you find them. The bike special needs, you will drop off. Let me backtrack for a second. The bike gear bag and the run gear bag will be dropped off the day before the race on Friday, along with your bike. Bike special needs and run special needs will be dropped off race morning, just before you get to body marking. Right behind Alvin's Island, there'll be all these tall cardboard boxes in numerical order, and you'll just go place your box or your bag in the assigned box. There are volunteers there to help you to make sure they go into the right boxes. The bike special needs bags will be trucked out to mile 56 on the bike course. You will not get these bags back. They do get thrown away. So don't put your backup pair of $200 bike shoes or a new kit that you think you maybe if you want to change clothes or something, and nothing that you care to lose. So really just food items, maybe some spare tubes or CO2 cartridges, things like that, any food items, special treat, a little note from a family member to encourage you at the halfway point. Run special needs, higher chance you'll get these back. If you go, they give you an assigned time on Sunday to come pick these up. They, like I said, they will remain right behind Alvin's Island, which is right on the run course, mile 13. It's right near the finish chute. In the run special needs bags, various items. I would highly recommend putting a pair of gloves in there because it does look like it's going to get pretty chilly Saturday night, and as well as a long sleeve layer to cover up with in case it does get chilly. Some people like to put glow sticks in there so they have something glowing on them. They used to require you to have glow tape on your clothing or on your bib. I don't know if that's still a requirement. They do hand out glow sticks at some of the aid stations after dark. So when you have 2,500 people racing one race, and there's going to be 2,500 identical bags lined up in one area in numerical order. So it's pretty hard to find your bag amongst all the other bags that look alike. So I like to encourage people to decorate their bags with colorful markers or colorful duct tape, tie some ribbons onto the little handle of the bag. Just be careful not to tie the two strings together. Just put the ribbons on one side of the string. And that way your bag becomes very visible to you. And so when you're running and you're a little, exhausted from a 112-mile bike ride and you're looking for a bag that looks like everyone else's, you can look and say, oh yeah, I have the pink and green ribbon on mine, or I have, red and white duct tape on my bag. So then it'll just make your bag a little bit more obvious. The volunteers do help you find your bags. If you start running yelling your number out for them, sometimes they'll hand it to you. So just some ideas of what to put in your swim and morning bag. So what happens is you have a morning bag that you will then end up putting your swim gear. You'll put your pre-swim stuff in. So I put my swim stuff into my morning bag when I'm leaving my condo. That would be like my timing chip, your goggles, your swim cap, your wetsuit, body glide, a gel, and a small bottle of water. These are all the things you're going to carry down to the swim with you. And then what you can do is if it's cold race morning, you have some sweats on, you can put those into your morning bag, and then you check your morning bag in and you can get it after the race. Your swim to bike gear bag. This will be what you will use in transition one. So what happens here is you put all of your bike stuff in this bag, anything you need on the bike. I like to encourage athletes to streamline their transitions. Use the phrase methodical execution. You're moving like a robot through transition. You should have all this memorized in your mind, step by step, exactly how you're going to go through it. Do not allow any choices in your bag. Don't put two bike kits in there to decide upon race day which one you're going to wear, or two pairs of shoes, or different compression socks. One thing, your kit that you're going to wear, and that's it. Maybe you want to throw an extra jacket in there just in case it turns out to be rainy or cold for some reason. So all the things you need for your bike, going to go in this bag. When you come out of the swim, you're going to grab this bag. The volunteers, like I said earlier, they will be there to help you grab it. You're going to take it into the Boardwalk Hotel where there's a changing area. There's a separate, obviously, changing area for men and a separate one for women. You're going to go into your assigned changing area. There are a ton of awesome volunteers in there. Usually you have one volunteer that'll grab you and help you dump your bag out, put all your things on. They'll ask you, what do you need help with? They'll even put your shoes and socks on for you if you need help with that. And sunscreen, definitely make sure you have some sunscreen in there. They do have the sunscreen station as you come out, but I'm sure you've seen pictures before. They pretty much just kind of slather it on in no rhyme or reason. So put a can of spray in there or some lotion. The volunteer will help you put that on. So once you have all of your things out for the bike, you are going to just leave a little pile of your swim stuff on the floor. The volunteer will put it back into your bag for you. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can restock your swim stuff back into the bike bag. So now all your swim stuff is in the same bag that your bike stuff was just in. One little tip I forgot to mention when packing that bag, I personally like to carry, I nicknamed it I call it a bath in a bag. I put a little bit of soap on a very wet washcloth and put it into a Ziploc bag, and then a little dry towel. And I just do a quick wash through my face and just to get the salt off. I just wash my face, arms, a quick run down the legs. Just makes you feel a little bit better getting all the salt water off you. And then I just throw it back in the bag. Bike special needs, as I said, this is going to be picked up at mile 56 on the bike course. You do not have to stop at special needs if you do not want to stop at special needs. This is totally optional. So what happens is just before you get to special needs, there'll be some volunteers with walkie-talkies and they'll be checking out your number on your bib, and they'll be radioing down to the special needs volunteers, saying, for example, number 590 is coming in, number 590 is coming in. So a volunteer will grab number 590's bag and they'll hold it out and they'll start yelling your number out. So you have to kind of be aware and listen for your number to be called out. Some people grab their bags while they're on their bike. They don't stop. They just get out what they need. They throw their bag to the side on the ground and they keep rolling. You are allowed to pull over, stop, get off your bike, get into your bag, and so forth, and get the things out you need, the snacks, the new nutrition. If you need to pick up that spare tire, CO2, you can put some more sunscreen in there if you want to reapply your sunscreen. If you had a long sleeve layer on from earlier in the morning because it was cold and now you're getting hot, you can put that back into your special needs bag. Just remember, however, that you will not get that long sleeve layer back. Nothing is returned. So you carry on. They don't usually have water or anything at the special needs, but there is an aid station just about a mile further down the road. So that's where you'll get it, if you need water or more Gatorade gels, things like that, they will not be at the special needs stop. So you finished your 112-mile bike ride. You probably don't want to see your bike for a long time after this. When you get off your bike, a volunteer will take your bike and re-rack it for you. So in this bike to run bag transition 2, when you get off your bike, you're going to be running back to the changing room. On your right-hand side, as soon as you get off the bike, there's going to be your run bag. So you're going to grab that bag again, and you're going to take it into the Boardwalk Hotel to your changing area. And here is where, just like with the swim, you get all your run stuff out that you need. And then you put your bike stuff back into this bag. Your helmet, your shoes, whatever you had on your bike that you don't need anymore goes back into this bag. Again, little tip, a lot of people like to have fresh socks to put on or fresh sunglasses. Sometimes your sunglasses get all gooped up on the bike, so it's nice to have a second pair of sunglasses in your run bag so you can start with a fresh, clean pair. I also like, again, to put the soapy washcloth in a little Ziploc. You have all the road grit on you. You've been sweating, salty all day, so I just do a quick wipe down, and it makes me feel super fresh and kind of like I'm starting the day fresh for the run. Run special needs. This again, like I said, mile 13, right behind Alvin's Island, right near the finish chute. Anything you want to put in here, some caffeine, the long sleeve layer, a special snack, fresh socks in case maybe you think it was going to be a rainy day and you want to put dry socks on, Band-Aids, BioFreeze, anything like that is going to go in here. And like I said earlier, you do normally get these bags back, but you do have to go pick them up on Sunday. Now we get to race day. So I'm sure all of you have a plan. If you have a coach, you've probably gone over your plan, your race execution, your fueling, what you're going to do when you get there. And then it's race day and you're halfway through the day and all of a sudden your plan starts going down the tubes. Maybe it's something very small. You missed your swim time by, your swim goal time by a minute, or maybe it's something, a lot worse than that we are not going to discuss. But everybody has a plan, just like Mike Tyson says, until they get punched in the face. So what do you do about that? Well, usually on Ironman, nothing goes as planned. Very few times do all the stars align and you get a perfect day on Ironman. It's just too long of a day. I mean, you're out there for hours. You're covering 140.6 miles. So usually unexpected things will happen. I love racing Ironman because I really think that it's the athletes that are able to think on their feet when the unexpected things happen and deal with them in a calm manner. So you just have to readjust your goal. If something unforsaken happens that you weren't expecting, it's something that's you're going to need to stop and fix. Just need to pretend like it's red light, yellow light, green light, go. So red light, you stop, try to calmly assess the situation. Yellow is come up with some kind of solution calmly, because the more freaked out you are, the longer it's going to take to figure your answer out. And then finally, you get the problem taken care of, the question answered, the goal readjusted, and then that's your green light to start moving again. So anything unexpected, try to deal with it calmly. Think on your feet. And it's those people who fix those things on the go and readjust their goals and they race smart. Those are the ones that are going to make it to the finish line. Just some general tips about race day. Try to race in the moment. What this means is don't worry about the things that have already happened, and don't worry about the what ifs in the miles that still lie ahead of you. Only worry about this 1 minute right now when you're racing. Am I doing everything in my power right this minute to make sure I'm having my very best race? Am I fueling properly? Am I thinking positively in my head? Am I just taking it all in and doing the best I can? And the answer must be yes. Covering 140.6 miles is very daunting, and you've been thinking about it for 6 to 12 months, and then you get on the starting line, and it is a little freaky when you think how long the day is actually going to be. So never look at the whole picture, never look at the whole race. Break each discipline into small parts. So you're at the swim, and you either take it buoy to buoy, or you take it 1 loop and 2 loops. You get to the bike, break it down, that's something that's manageable for you, whether it's aid station to aid station or 25 miles at a time, whatever is going to work for you. Same thing with the run. Break it down into 5Ks or 10Ks or 26 1-mile jogs, or from the transition to the park and back, and then from special needs to the park, and then back to the finish line. There's a lot of ways to break it down that'll make it more mentally manageable for you. Always have a mantra, a thought, or a vision to get you through the tough spots on race day, and there will be a lot of tough spots. It's just normal. There's going to be minutes where you think you feel like you're on top of the world and you're going to have the best race day ever, and there's going to be moments where you're telling yourself how stupid it was to ever sign up for this race in the first place, and you're never going to finish, and you don't care anymore, and why did you even do this in the first place? So no matter how good you're feeling or how bad you're feeling, that feeling is not going to last long. So just try to get through the bad spots and wait for the good spots to return and enjoy those times when you are feeling good. A lot of times when you do start to feel kind of negative, it means that your body needs calories. So if you do feel like, I don't want to be here anymore, or I just want to walk, I'm not feeling well, just try to remember when was the last time you had some calories, and you might need to just grab a gel or some food at one of the aid stations. When you see your family and your friends on the run course, take a quick second to go over and give them a hug and a kiss. It's a very long day for spectators. And I always like to say, unless you think you're in line for a Kona spot, maybe you don't want to stop and hug and kiss your family. But otherwise, most of us are just out there to do good and do our best. And so, it's a long day. Like, take the time to thank your family for being there. And always remember, no matter how hard it gets out there, that having the health and the strength and certainly the financial means, because this sport is not cheap, to race is a gift. And we're blessed to be able to do this sport. And remember on race day that we get to do this. We don't have to do this. And at some point, there will come a day where we cannot do this anymore, but that will not be Saturday, because we're all going to do it. So here we get to some course information. Here is the swim. It's 2 loops, as most of you know. It starts right in front of the Boardwalk Hotel. You're going to swim straight out about 2,500 meters. You're going to take a left-hand turn, and this is where you're going to be swimming pretty much into some sunshine. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to see. And then you're going to take that turn straight back into shore. You're going to exit. It's just a quick, maybe 10 feet on the beach. There's some volunteers there with a table, some water. If you need to grab a water, if you think you need a gel to do in between the loops, you can tuck it into your swim cap and do it at the transition here. You're going to hop back in the water, and you're going to angle out to that first buoy and do the same thing all over again. The swim gets pretty crowded on the first loop. But then the second loop, it starts to break up, and you even get a little bit of the current, because now everybody swam one big circle going in the same direction. So the second loop, it's almost like you get a little bit of a whirlpool effect. As you know, this is a saltwater swim, so it's always random conditions in a saltwater swim. But know that you are a lot more buoyant in saltwater, and if it's wetsuit, you get double buoyancy. So some of the fastest swims are in the saltwater. It's a rolling start. If you guys haven't seen that yet, that's Ironman's been doing it for quite a few years now. It's not a mass start anymore. I'm sure everyone knows that. So rolling start. If you want to see what it looks like, you can YouTube rolling start Ironman Florida and get a quick visual of it. But what it is, it's just like imagine starting on a running race at a marathon or a half marathon, and you choose to go in a pace group because you want to finish in a certain time. That's how this is. There's going to be people holding up signs, and the first group will be under 1 hour swim. The next group will be 1 hour to 110, 110 to 120, 120 to 130, and then I believe it moves up to 15-minute increments, 130 to 145, 145 to 2 hours, and then 2 to 220. So you're going to need to decide, honestly, ask yourself how long you think it's going to take you to finish the swim, and then place yourself behind that sign with the person that's holding the sign where you think your swim time is. I recommend having tinted goggles. There are 2 swim cutoffs. First loop you have to be through by 1:10, and the whole swim is cut off at 2 hours and 20 minutes. It usually is wetsuit legal. I've known of 1 year where it was not, and it was a wetsuit optional. If it's not a wetsuit swim and they give you the wetsuit option, you have to start in the back of the group, and there's a little bit of a time lapse when the last person enters in the not wetsuit group until the wetsuiters are allowed to enter. I don't recommend starting in this group if it's not a wetsuit legal temperature. It's not a wetsuit legal temperature for a reason. And if you do choose to wear your wetsuit, I know it makes you feel safer and you're faster. However, there's a strong chance you could overheat by that second loop. There's a cutoff for a reason. So, like, heed the race director's suggestion. There's sometimes are currents, it's salt water, it's the Gulf. There's sometimes you may see some fish, you might see some jellyfish. Usually they leave you alone. If you do have a fear of getting stung by jellyfish, there is a product called Safe Sea that you can. It's like a sunscreen jellyfish repellent combo, and you can get that on Amazon and put that on your face and arms if you feel like you're scared of getting stung. Before you start the race, I recommend getting in the water and trying to get just your body adjusted to the water temperature so it's not a shock when you jump in that first time. So just go away from the swim start a little bit, get in. It is going to be dark. It's a 6:40 start, so it's not going to be bright and sunny, but get out there, get your face in the water, just feel how the water is, and it'll be a lot less nerve-wracking and shocking when you get in. Just remember, everyone's in the same boat, whether it's their first Ironman or they've been doing this for years and years. Everyone is very nervous at the start. So you can feel comfort in knowing everyone feels the same way you're feeling. Just try to relax, take deep breaths, focus inwardly, think, you deserve to be there. You've put the training in. This is the day you've been waiting for a year. This is your day, and it's your reward for all the hard work, the sacrifice, the time away from your friends and family. So toes in the sand, close your eyes for a moment, and be thankful that you're there and that you were healthy enough to be there. A lot of people don't make it to the starting line. So you're very fortunate if you're one of the ones that are there on race morning. The first couple 100 yards are going to be very crowded. You're going to feel like you're getting beat up on a little bit. It does sometimes take your breath away. You feel a little panicky. So if you can just keep repeating to yourself, like, this is just temporary. I just got to get through this rough patch. It's going to break up soon. It does break up. Just know that first part of the swim is going to be a little rough with elbows and feet. Once you get out of the swim, you're going to go through a freshwater shower. Make sure you do a little rinse. I can't remember if I think the shower is after the wetsuit. I think it's before the wetsuit pillars. Doesn't really matter, but so when you get out of the water, go ahead and unzip your wetsuit and peel it down to your waist, and then take your swim cap and goggles off. If you take your swim cap and goggles off first, you're not going to have a free hand to get that wetsuit off. So go ahead, peel it down to the waist, and it'll get off. You'll be able to get it off a lot quicker with the wetsuit peelers. Once you get up on the beach, there's going to be some mats over to your right-hand side as you're running off the beach. That's where the wetsuit volunteers are. And you just lay on your back, put your feet in the air, point your toes, and they'll whip that thing right off you. After you get through there, you're going to run over on the right-hand picture here. That's what it looks like where all the bike bags are. As I said, there's 2,500 or more bags that all look identical. So as you can see, it's pretty hard to find your bag. So take my tip on decorating your bag. Couple tips on transition. You're gonna, as I said, you're gonna check your race bags, your gear bags in on Friday. So the volunteers are there, they're helping you put the bags down on the ground, but at the end of the day, they're gonna straighten those bags out. So go back race morning and check to see exactly where your bag is, if it's exactly where you left it, or it might be a few feet down to the right, a few feet down to the left. Just make sure you know exactly where your bag is. I already talked about decorating your bags. When you get to transition, as you're looking for your bags, try to find one of the volunteers that's near your bag and make eye contact with them and start yelling your bag number out, your race number out. And that way they can help you look for it, and they may even find it before you do and hand it to you so you don't have to go down the whole aisleway to get your bag. Again, I've already said this, but keep your bags as streamlined as possible. Don't allow too many choices because that just delays your time in transition. And I had someone say to me today that I met with that at their very first triathlon, they thought the clock stopped when you were in transition, just like on football when it's timeout. The clock does not stop in transition. Your race time is still running. So the longer you take in transition, that's all adding time on to your race day. So try to get in and out of there as quick as possible, as long, just obviously make sure you have all the things done that you need to have done before you leave. Oh yes, and make sure your wetsuit, inside your wetsuit, there should be a little spot to put your name and phone number. Make sure that is in your wetsuit because, if you don't get it put back into your proper bag and the volunteers are going to rebag it for you, sometimes things get shifted around and they may get put into the wrong bag. So make sure your name and phone number's in there in case somebody gets your wetsuit and you get someone else's. The new bike course just changed this year. I'm not sure why. I guess you're going to go on the coastline just a little bit more than what you did in the past. That coastline does tend to be windy. You're going down through a lot of tall condos on both sides of the road, so it almost acts as a wind tunnel. It's usually a crosswind. Sometimes on days when the winds are higher, it's almost like your bike is getting blown to the side. So just be aware if it's super windy like that and your bike's getting blown sideways, try not to be in your aero bars. Keep your hands on your handlebars so you can have control over your bike and just deal with it in a calm manner. As I said before, it's a one loop course, so there's not a lot of spectators out there as versus like some of the other Ironmans when it's a 2 and 3 loop bike course. So it does get a little desolate out there. There'll be little patches here and there of people cheering, but it does tend to get a little lonely out there. It also tends to be windy. We call if you live in Florida, we call our wind our Florida hills. So usually it's windy. For Floridians, some people may say it's there's a lot of false flats. If you're coming from up north, you'll probably snicker at us saying that there's any elevation at all. But it isn't a pancake flat course. It's very flat compared to most Ironman courses, but there are some false flats out there, as well as some bridges. So because it is a flatter course, you will be in your aero bars a lot of the time. And there's an aid station every 10 miles. So whenever you feel like you need aid, just know every 10 miles there'll be an aid station. There's water, Gatorade Endurance, base bars, goo gel, bananas, oranges, things like that. Just a couple tips on managing your bike. I always like to think of my bike as my vessel that is going to ensure a good marathon. Everything you do on your bike is going to affect your run. Every single thing. If you bike too fast, if you bike out of your assigned zones, If you start playing cat and mouse with someone, they pass you, you pass them, and you do these little things called surges where you're pedaling steady, and then all of a sudden you sprint for 15 or 20 seconds. That's all taking a toll on your legs. Try to keep your cadence between 85 and 95 so you're not mashing on your gears, and just make sure you're really on top of your nutrition and your hydration. Make sure you're taking in, your fuel. You guys should have all this nailed down by now. I'm sure you've been practicing all this time. So make sure you're drinking and eating on the bike. It's almost like front loading for the run. You're going to burn more calories on the run, but you can't take as much food in as you can on the bike. So you really have to take in what you can on the bike. Stick to your pacing plan. Stay ahead of that nutrition. It's very hard to catch up once you fall behind. We always like to recommend you pee at least twice on that 112-mile bike ride. So get on your bike, let your heart rate settle down, and start drinking until you feel like you have to pee. And then again, you try to pee one more time while you're on that bike. It's very important, and that will ensure that you're properly hydrated for the run. And then periodically, because this is such a flat course, periodically stand on your bike to stretch the legs, just because you're aero for so long on this course. There's not hills you're climbing and getting out of the saddle and then descending. It's just a long 112-mile steady pedal. So try to stretch a little here and there. So you get off your bike. As I said earlier, a volunteer will take your bike and they'll rack it for you. And you will be so happy to be off your bike. No matter how much you love your bike and how much you love bike riding, you will be happy when that 112-mile ride is over. Again, there'll be volunteers over to your right where you're going to grab your bag, start yelling your number out so they can help you find it. Using that methodical execution again through transition. Do exactly what is needed. Know it in your head. Your bath in a bag, and reapply that sunscreen. It's going to be, if it's a sunny day, that run course can tear your skin up with sun. The run course is 2 loops. You leave transition. After you leave transition, it's super exciting. There's a lot of tents, a lot of music, a lot of people partying, cheering you on. And then you're going to take that first right-hand turn, and there's some really fun aid stations back in there. A lot of spectators through there as well. You're going to run down through that back street by the beach, and then you're going to cross over the main road again, and you're going to go in and out of different neighborhoods. Once you get in and out of the neighborhoods, you're going to go down to St. Andrews State Park. First time through, probably, possibly depending on where you are in your race, if it may be daylight. The second loop, for most, it'll be very dark. It does get dark early. It's the night before the time change, so it'll get dark probably by 5:30 on Saturday night, just because of the fall that is upon us now. So when you get in that park, especially in the second loop, it's going to be really dark. So watch where you're going. You may want to have a little light on your visor, a little clip-on light, or something like that if you're worried about tripping back there. So you're going to leave the park, and you're going to follow your footsteps back the same way you came, right back to special needs, mile 13. Grab your special needs bag, and then you're going to do that whole loop all over again. Except when you leave the park the second time, you're going to be heading home for the finish line. The water stops at Ironman Florida, there's a lot of really fun water stops. They're very entertaining. Volunteers are amazing. There's people out in their front yards having parties, cheering you on. Some people bring their dining room tables out there. They're having a good time. The aid stations on the run course are every 1 mile. Just a couple pictures of the run course and some aid stations. Fun, people dress up in costumes. Just some tips for strategy. Start running slower than you think you need to. It's really exciting when you start that run with all the people, as I said. So try not to take off too fast. It's a long 26 miles, and you'll have plenty of time to catch up later if you start off too slow. Break the run down into segments so it doesn't look like so many miles ahead of you. Stay ahead. Walk through the aid stations if you need to, and make sure to get the drinks down, your gels, whatever you're going to eat, make sure you get it down in the aid stations. At some point, for most, the nutrition is going to start to fail. It's been a long day. Your stomach gets tired of taking in the gels and the bars and the chews. If your stomach starts to get a little distressed, just slow down, walk if you need to, sip some water or some Coke until it passes. The aid stations on the run will have cookies, pretzels, potato chips, oranges, bananas, the base bars, and gels, of course, Gatorade, water, cola, Red Bull, and after dark, some warm chicken broth. The chicken broth is really nice when it starts to get chilly, and if you've been taking in the gel and the sweet stuff all day, that salty chicken broth tastes like a steak dinner. On the run is when you're going to experience your highest highs and your lowest lows. So especially after dark, it gets pretty emotional, it gets hard at times. Just expect this and have a plan to deal when you get low and you're feeling a little lonely out there, or a little like you want it to be over. Just know that's going to happen at some point. So think of this race as your victory lap. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that before, but really you've spent, most of you, a full year training. It's been, if you signed up last year, you've spent a year training for this, and probably more than a year thinking about how you wanted to do an Ironman. So this is really just a day for you to take it all in and enjoy it. I always like to say there's always some guilt involved for most of us in training. Like, you have to get home for work, you have to get home for your family. This is a day that's all about you. You get to do what you love all day long without having to be home at any certain time. No responsibilities when you're finished. You have people catering to your needs all day, handing you gels and Gatorade and food all day. They're out there for you. This is your party, your victory lap. And just as I said, race in the moment and be present and aware and take it all in. Enjoy your day. And then, I said this already, but no matter how good you feel or how bad you feel, that feeling is not going to last. So embrace the good and get through the bad. And finally, 140.6 miles later, and you make it to the finish chute. The finish chute is so exciting. I'm sure you've thought about it on so many of your training runs, imagining running through the finish chute and hearing Mike Riley call you out as an Ironman. It's a super exciting place. Make sure before you get to the finish chute that your bib number is turned around so you can get your pictures. And take it all in the finish chute. If you're not getting on the podium, don't rush to the finish chute. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Take a time to high five the kids. Mike Riley a lot of time, I think, tells them if an Ironman gives you a high five, it's good luck. So take the time, smile, interact with the fans, and make sure you listen for your name to be called out, because a lot of times you're so happy to be done that you forget to listen for that phrase you've been waiting all year to hear. You are an Ironman. There's a little spot as soon as you finish to get your picture taken. There's a little screen you can stand in front of and have a picture with your medal. And very important, have a post-race meeting spot to reconnect with your family. The finish area is super crowded. There's a lot of people finishing at the same time. And as you come out of the finish chute, there's hundreds and hundreds of people milling around the exit. So have a meeting place away from the finish chute to meet your family, whether it's inside the Boardwalk Hotel or a certain tree. They're going to know when you finish, because either they're at the finish chute and they see you come through, or they're on the tracker and they can see that you finished. So they'll know when to go to the meeting place. Also, make sure you have a change of clothes for after the race. If you plan on sticking around and cheering others in, just have another washcloth where you can go into the bathroom at the boardwalk there and rinse off and change into sweatshirt and some sweatpants, something comfy and warm, if you plan on sticking around. A lot of you may not. You may just want to get out of there and get back to your hotel or condo and shower and eat. So just, think about what you want to do after the race. I recommend also bringing recovery drinks so you can get the recovery started right away. Drink that recovery drink first and then eat the food second. Also, and when you check in, you're going to get a little ticket. It's your gear pickup ticket. Give that to a family member or a friend that's there with you if you have someone there with you, and that way they can take the ticket, and after 6 p.m. they can go get your bike and your gear bags for you and take it back to the hotel or the condo or put it in the car, and that way you don't have to deal with all that after you cross the finish line, because that's the last thing you're going to want to do is go back into the transition and pick up all your stuff. And that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the box. If not, that concludes our webinar, and I want to want you guys to all have an amazing taper week this week. If there's some workouts that you don't feel like doing and you're just super tired, or you need to use the time to mentally decompress and pack, I recommend doing what you need to do to get prepared and to get to Panama City. And I guess I'll see you guys up there. If you have any questions at all, this webinar will be recorded. You can go back and listen to it. And if you feel anything afterwards, feel free to email me, Jackie@qt2systems.com. And thanks for joining us. Oh, somebody asked where the QT2 tent will be. It's actually the OutRival tent, and it will be on the very first right-hand turn on the run course. So as soon as you come out of transition, you're going to run about a half mile to 3/4 down the road. You're going to make your first right-hand turn, and we'll be back in the corner by the Gulf Crest condominiums. Your family members can come OutRival, if you're OutRival or QT2, can come hang out at the tent. We'll have some refreshments late afternoon when everyone's on the run course. Yes. Should we wear throwaway flip-flops to the swim start? You don't need to. It's actually not a bad walk. You're just leaving from the inside of the Boardwalk Hotel, and you walk out through the pool area, across the little boardwalk area, and right down to the beach. So you don't really, it's not a super long walk like at some races, so you really don't need to unless you want to, but no need to. Do we retrieve our bikes ourselves? Yes. So when you come out to get on your bike to start your 112-mile bike ride, there are volunteers. Sometimes you get lucky and they'll pull your bike off the rack for you. But a lot of times there's a lot of people coming out at the same time and they can't get all the bikes. So be prepared to grab your own bike, and if you're lucky, they'll grab it for you. Do you recommend putting your phone? I would probably not put my cell phone in the morning clothes bag. If you really need it for some reason to meet up with your family members after, maybe, but I think that's pretty risky just because the bags are all thrown into a truck, and it's fairly risky. These questions are hard to see. I have to scroll through. They're teeny. Cell phones, answered there. Retrieve our bikes ourselves coming out of T1. We answered that. Throw away flip-flops. And where is the tent? Keep shoes on bike or gear bag. There is nothing allowed on your bike except for your nutrition. Your shoes and your gear bag, everything else needs to be in your gear bag. It's not like a normal transition area of a normal triathlon where everything's underneath your bike. There's actually nothing under your bike. Is it a long run to get to the Mount line? No, it is not long at all. Depending on where you are in transition, it's not very far at all. It's really right at the exit of transition. I think that's all the questions. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to type them. I hope you guys all have an amazing day. I know you've all worked really hard for this. And I hope it's the day that you've been thinking of and dreaming of all this time. And I hope I meet some of you up there. And like I said, we will be having that swim Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m. right out in front of the boardwalk at the swim start. And after that, we're going to do a little walk through transition, and I'm just going to point out where the gear bags are located and where the changing area is. So if anyone would like to join us for that, feel free. I'll have an OutRival shirt on. Want to find me? And again, feel free to email me with any questions, Jackie@qt2systems.com. I'll just give it 30 more seconds, and if no one has any more questions, we will be finished. And you guys can go finish your race prep. Thank you, Jane, also. All right, guys, I will see you in Panama City Beach on Wednesday. Have a good night. Thanks for joining.